Hey, what's up guys? NullRage here, taking a look at the next hero coming to Marvel Heroes, War Machine.
Hey there. What's the trouble this time?
Let's go ahead and hop in, and it looks like his synergy is going to be pretty freaking potent, with level 25 giving you 1% defense, and level 50 giving you +1 to the fighting attribute. Keep in mind this is all test center, and as we go over the skills, there are going to be various skills with some bugs, mostly in the audio side of things, and then it is possible that some of these skills will change. So he's got 3 trees here: Shock and Awe. Shock being a melee shock trooper type tree. Awe focusing mostly on his ranged chain gun abilities, and War Gear supplementing both of those with some really nice powers. Alright, Shock, first skill we've got is Laser Blade Strike, giving us some physical damage. It's a basic, and you'll see an additional damage effect while overheated. Now, overheat is his secondary mechanic that he has to use. Basically, some of his powers will generate heat, and then he'll go into an overheat mode in which a lot of his gun weaponry shuts down, and he has various ways to deal with this. We'll go over that as we get to the individual powers. Alright, Laser Blade Strike. It's your basic melee attack. Nothing too special, except the animation's pretty awesome. Alright. Then we've got a Laser Cutter. This is going to be his dash ability. You see he uses that same laser blade there as he dashes through targets. That's pretty cool. Alright, we've got Bring the Heat. Physical damage twice per second. This is going to be his first heat power that generates heat. You can see you've got various abilities here. His Bring the Heat and Shock Trooper both generate heat, and pretty much everything in the Awe tree generates heat. But his melee tree does not generate a whole lot of heat, but it does gain extra damage when you get overheated. So you have to find various ways to generate that heat and get overheated to increase your damage with your melee skills. Alright, Bring the Heat. It's a flamethrower. Damage scales off attack speed, looks like. Alright. Here we go. You can see that heat bar going up, and when I overheat, I'll do that in a minute when we get to this skill, Shock Trooper. Show you guys how you can deal with that heat generation, because this is going to shut down a lot of your ranged abilities. Alright, Divide and Conquer is going to do some physical damage, and it looks like it's your single target Spirit Spinner for your melee tree. The animation is a little bit, it needs a little bit of work yet, but it's pretty cool. Maybe speed it up a bit, I'd say. Looks like he's got like some chain blades there that he just goes, yeah, it brings out the chainsaws and just goes to town cutting people up. That's pretty cool. Alright, Rough Landing. Jumps in the air, knocks down. It's basic crash down strike. It's got an 8-second shared cooldown with Plasma Cannon, which is over here in the range tree right there. So, yeah, nothing too special there. Just up in the air. Crash down with a knockdown effect on it. Alright, now we get to Shock Trooper. Now this is going to be your first ability that allows you to deal with the heat system. Once you get overheated, you can use this or Spitfire here. These are your 2 abilities to cool off some of that heat. And this one is going to cause all of your melee abilities to have an extra effect. When you hit with a melee power or take damage, so when you get hit too. You're going to deal some physical damage, and then you'll also do some physical damage twice per second to nearby targets. Let's just show it off. It reads better as you watch it. Alright, so we're going to generate a little bit of heat with Flamethrower here. And then we're going to pop that Shock Trooper. There we go. Alright, and this will modify our melee abilities to do some extra effects here. You can see it started shocking out these 2 targets as I was attacking this one. So you got some chain lightning kind of stuff going on there. And then it also, every so often, would do a pulse around me for a lot of damage. That was pretty cool. Just one more time here. Generate a little bit of heat. And turn it on. Now, when I'm doing nothing, it's just kind of sitting there. I have to actually engage in melee combat to proc the effects of that skill. So that's pretty cool. Increasing or sort of stacking with the innate benefits of using your melee powers, which is that increased damage when you're overheated. So you get even more damage stacking when you're overheated. Now it only lasts as long as you're overheated. So, and I don't think you can use any heat generating abilities while you're overheated. So, you pretty much have to let that run its course and then use some other abilities to generate some heat. All right, next up we've got Lights Out. It's going to stun. It's a irresistible stun and deals damage to robots. It will not deal damage to anybody else, only robots. Everybody else, though, will get stunned. There you go. See all of them stunned. And if I had some robots here, then I'd show you the damage, but there's no robots in training room. Alright, next up we've got Awe, and this is one of the probably most anticipated powers right here, is Fire When Ready. Let me put that there. Let me get the basic, yep, right there. Alright. There we go. Alright, so our first ability here is Fire When Ready, and you'll see there's a specialization over this. I have not gone over the specializations. I mean, you can see two of them here, but I haven't gone over them first because they are not, like, overall character impacting abilities like we've seen, or choices like we've seen with previous specialization systems like Doom, Rocket Raccoon, and Phoenix. They all three of those characters have specializations that you choose that pretty much change the way your character works. But this specialization is limited mostly to the skill itself. We have Fire When Ready is going to be a toggled on power that deals physical damage 3 times per hit, or it shoots 3 times. Here, let me just. There we go. Always on, shoulder mounted machine gun. And you'll see this power does have a little bit of spirit usage. It also generates a little bit of heat. Now we've got some specializations for it. We've got Cool Under Pressure, which removes the suit power cost from Fire When Ready. Cannot activate while in combat. Alright. Let's do that. Alright. So Cool Under Pressure will remove that suit power cost, meaning that it won't, cost you any suit power. Superior Firepower will Fire When Ready also fires 3 homing missiles, causing extra physical damage per hit, and the cost of... Okay, so it increases the suit power and the heat generation. Has a 3-second cooldown on that effect, but it will fire some extra missiles. We're going to look at that one. That one's going to be pretty cool. And then Fire When Ready with Specialty Ammo Loader gains the property of enhanced ammo effects. Now we've got some abilities down here, like Plasma Cannon, which you see enhanced ammo adds plasma rounds, and Spitfire adds thermite rounds. We'll get to those in a minute, as well as Clear the Room will add tank rounds. Alright, so that would allow your Fire When Ready to get the benefit of those enhanced ammo types. Alright, let's look at this, the Superior Firepower. So we turn that on, and now he's going to generate... He's also going to fire out some missiles. So that's pretty cool. It's also going to increase that heat cost, so let's say you're running a melee build or something like that, and you really want to focus on getting that overheat as much as possible. This would probably be what you wanted to do here with Superior Firepower, because it's going to put you in that overheat pretty much passively. So now you can go into your melee abilities. Now you'll see whenever I get overheated and I'm using the Awe Tree, my ranged powers shut down. My entire bar grayed out there, and my Fire When Ready shuts down because you have to let that heat cool off. Alright, next up we've got Suppressing Fire here. It's going to be a basic ability. No, that's the next one. That's Limited War. Alright, Suppressing Fire is a frontal cone AoE doing some physical damage, 3 hits of it, and it does have enhanced ammo, so it will gain the enhanced ammo properties. Alright, here that is. Now you'll see the sound is not complete, but that's going to be a pretty cool ability, allowing you to just, mow down anything in front of you. Alright, next up we've got Limited War. This is your basic power, physical damage, and generates 8 heat per second. Also gains enhanced ammo from these 3 abilities down here. There you go. I really like the heads-up display animation here. That's pretty cool. And I imagine that shows up on all of his Awe powers. All right. Now we've got Total War. It's going to do some physical damage, and looks like it. I think it's your single target Spirit Spinner for the ranged ability. Yeah. Again, you can see the or hear that the sound effects have not completed yet. It's cool. They will be soon. And generate a little bit more suit power so we can use that just a little bit more. Yeah, nothing too fancy, just your single target Spirit Spinner. Alright, next up we've got Plasma Cannon. Is going to load some plasma rounds, and it's going to do some physical damage twice per second. It's got an area duration of 3 seconds, a cooldown of 8 seconds. Let's have a look. So there you go. Big AoE damage area. And then all of my abilities now have been loaded with plasma rounds. You saw a little bit of that. Looks like it wore off. There we go. And you can see my bullets are slightly different color. There, you can see it more with this ability. They're blue instead of the red or orange from before. Alright, then we've got Spitfire. Now this is going to be your ability that I talked about to deal with the heat, the overheating process. So if you wanted to turn on fire when ready, and once we hit that overheat, we'll go ahead and do this, but we're going to be able to spend that heat to do some line damage. There you go. Just a straight line of... Nope, that was wrong. Straight line of physical damage, and spends all remaining heat to increase damage by 1% per heat spent. So you want to use this as soon as you overheat. You want to be watching that overheat bar, and as soon as you overheat, Spitfire. And that's going to then load your ammo, your thermite rounds, into your chain gun, and cause all of your abilities to ignite targets when they hit. Let's see, what did plasma rounds do? It increases the damage of chain gun, so it's a 20% damage increase. Plasma rounds is pretty powerful. That's pretty cool. Alright, now we've got Clear the Room is next up. Physical damage, 3 hits of it. It's got enhanced ammo, loads anti-tank rounds, increasing critical chance of chain gun powers by 15%. It's got an 8-second cooldown. Or wait, no, that's for 8 seconds. And it does have an 8-second cooldown. Alright, now this is very similar. It's just basically the one-off with bullets. Very cool. Alright, next up we've got Start Tech Upgrade. This is going to allow you to, similar to Iron Man, increase your damage rating based off of your suit power or spirit, whatever you scale that up to. Now, one thing to note about Start Tech Upgrade and War Machine versus Iron Man is War Machine does not have an ability that generates that restores spirit based off a percentage of his spirit like Iron Man does. Iron Man's got that bubble damage or damage explosion thing that also restores a bunch of his spirit. War Machine does not have that, so stacking spirit may not be as good on him, but he still gets a lot of damage from it, so it may also still be a great idea. I'm not sure. You'd have to ask the mathematicians whether or not that pays off to just stack a bunch of spirit on him. And we'll get into that. We'll test some builds and all that in the future. Alright, then we've got Rule the Skies, and let's show the animation of this, because I think it turns on the Start Tech core in the center of the suit. Very cool. Alright, then we've got Rule the Skies. It's your basic travel power, with the jets in his hands and feet. Cool. Now we've got Built for War. Now this is another ability with some specialization here. Let's just have a look at what the base skill does. It's going to do a passive effect, giving you 15% damage negated, defense, and regen. And then it's got an active ability to do some physical damage. Oh, you know what I said earlier? How he doesn't have a ability to restore maximum suit power? Yeah, X-May on that. He does have it right here with Built for War. So there we go. So you can restore your suit power. You're going to use this pretty much every time it's up, I'm sure, to restore that suit power, and because you've stacked a bunch of spirit, and that's going to keep you pretty much stocked on spirit. I don't think you'll need any other uh, methods of keeping your spirit up, besides popping Built for War every time it's up. Cool, cool. And then we've got some specializations here, which is Purple Hearted, damage negated 5%. So it's going to increase that to 20%, right? And then you've got 100% regen and maximum health and suit power when you're defeated. So you got a revive effect here. You got suit. Your suit unleashes a defensive blast when reviving, causing physical damage to nearby enemies. So, okay, that's not going to be something you need to worry about until you hit that revive. And then you've got Built for War, grants you 1.5 second of invulnerability and restores 40% of your maximum health. So this is going to be a very defensive option here. If you spec into that, then every time you hit Built for War, you'll be invulnerable for a little bit, and restore part of your maximum health too. That's very, very nice. You'll probably want to use this on the very intense encounters where you just need that extra survivability, and you can be in one of these abilities, which is going to increase your damage, and then just swap to that for those harder encounters and stuff. All right, so next up we've got Stealth Fire, which is going to do when overheated, melee powers deal an additional 40% more damage, and when overheat ends, chain gun powers deal 40% more damage for 10 seconds. Built for War grants 5 seconds of stealth when activated. So it's going to be able to enhance the damage of both specs here. Whether you're doing ranged or whether you're doing melee, you will gain quite a bit of damage increase. You can see it doubles the damage of the overheat bonus on your melee abilities, and then applies a 40% bonus to all of your ranged powers for 10 seconds after. Can you keep that up indefinitely? Let's see. With this chosen right here, with Fire When Ready, and we've got Limited War. It's a 10-second buff, so how long do you stay overheated? Why am I not attacking this guy? There we go. Alright. And then, so there's our 10 seconds. Yeah, I think you might be able to keep that buff up indefinitely with the ranged build. Yeah, that's definitely going to be shorter than 10 seconds to. So that pretty much is for the range build, that's going to be a 40% damage increase pretty much at all times if you're doing your rotation correctly. And for the melee build, that's going to increase your damage during overheat a whole lot more. And then we've got In Case of War as the third specialization here, which is going to heat generating powers deal 15% more damage and generate heat 100% faster. Spitfire always deals critical strike. Shock Trooper always deals a critical strike. And Built for War increases heat to maximum when activated. So you can actually double up on the heat here. Let me. There we go. Alright, so we got. Of course, if you're doing a melee build or something like that, then the doubling up on the heat probably not the best idea. But let's have a look. So we got this on, generating a bunch of heat. We're going to town with melee. And once we get to max here, we activate that. 2 rounds of heat going out at once. That seemed a little odd. It didn't seem to use the Shock Trooper like I thought it would. Oh, right, because Shock Trooper is only active when you're in overheat. So you'd have to actually wait for overheat to go down all the way. And then you could pop back to max. So probably the best way to use that is going to be with the ranged build, maybe. Using the double Spitfire. You can see all the Shock Trooper abilities or effects, the physical damage area effect and the chain damage are all critting when you use that specialization. All right, so I think the best way to use this was going to be right here, turning that on and doing that Spitfire and then overheat again and Spitfire. And you can just use this Spitfire a lot with this specialization turned on. So that's pretty cool. With that increasing, generating a lot more heat and giving you that instant heat boost there, you can use Spitfire just a lot. Alright, now we've got Army of One. That's going to be one of his most awesome visually powers. Physical damage twice per second. It's got a channel time of 4 seconds. It's also going to shoot out some missiles. It's fire all the weapons. Let's have a look. That's pretty cool. So he's got the wrist-mounted chain guns, the flamethrower, the shoulder-mounted chain guns, as well as missiles coming out of pretty much everywhere that they are mounted. Alright, then we've got Less Than Lethal. Is going to do some slow and confuse. He's got 2 areas that he can maintain. You throw that out. Very much like Scarlet Witch has an ability similar to this that confuses anything in an area. So he's going to also have that power. Pretty cool. And then we've got the Hammer of War. Physical damage and physical damage twice per second in an area for 6 seconds. It's got a 30-second cooldown on this. Kaboom! Very nice. Alright, finally we've got his ultimate here, which is called Sidekick. Allows him to call in Iron Man and fire a repulsor at each other, building up enough energy to unleash a massive localized explosion. War Machine's suit is now left glowing with power. So it's going to do some physical damage initially with a burst. It's going to knock down everything and then give you a buff that increases your maximum health, your defense, and restores a bunch of suit power per second. It's got a cooldown of, what is that, 10 minutes, like all ultimates do? Yeah. Alright, so let's see if we can do this. So it's going to call in Iron Man over there. Then they, you can see the sound is a little bit off there. But they do some physical damage, and then he gets a buff. Pretty cool. And once that the sound is worked out on that, maybe some animation cleanup, I think that's going to be a very, very interesting signature there. The big thing here is going to be the suit power regenerating ability, which you never have to worry about your suit power when you pop that ultimate. It doesn't seem to have really a whole lot of offensive capabilities with that buff effect, which is kind of a letdown, in my opinion. But anyway, all right, so that was War Machine. I almost called him Iron Man. But this is not his default costume. His default costume is going to be the other one, which is not on Test Center yet. I cannot show his default costume. Unfortunately, this is going to be the alternate launch costume, according to what they're saying on the forums. But this is probably going to be the one I run around in. I like this one a lot. Alright guys, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and check out the rest of the information on the next build for Marvel Heroes that I got coming. We got a lot of stuff coming in this one. We got War Machine here, we got Cable's 52 review, we got some stash improvements, some UI stuff with some item compares. It's going to be pretty cool. Alright, I'll see you in the next video. Until then, take it easy, have a good one, peace.